take you back to the ground as, of course, my colleague Unathi Pagyashe is currently traversing parts of Johannesburg. Unathi, I understand you are now in Melville. How are the people responding to the current water woes just across SABC?
Hello again to you, Alicia, and of course to our viewers at home. We are now in Melville. That's about 2 kilometers from where we were earlier in Emerentia. That's about 1.5 kilometers from where you are in Auckland Park, Alicia. Of course, all those areas and a lot more actually are being serviced primarily by Hurst Hill Reservoir. That's not too far from here. In fact, it is in Auckland Park. But of course, we know that that particular reservoir is also at the center of some of the problems when it comes to water challenges and the water crisis. In fact, earlier on, we were speaking to residents there saying that, it is not really a crisis that is yet to come. Already we are living in one. I'm joined now by a resident of Melville, and she's going to give us a little bit more details in terms of how she's surviving. Thank you so much for your time. Just give us your name and, of course, what is happening in your area.
Well, okay, this is not a new thing. My name is Jofia. I live on top of the Koppies on the border to Westdean, but still Melville. And this has been sort of brewing for 5 years, getting progressively worse every year. In the last 3 to 4 months, we've had 3 such non-delivery of water shutdowns. This is the longest. It's now been about 18 days. And on the hill, we have 0 water. When everybody else still has a little bit of a trickle, we have nothing. So 18 days of no water.
Now, talk to us about how that is affecting your day to day. I mean, I know that it's weekend, which is why this particular street is bustling. But I know that a lot of people are choosing to come out of their homes, to spend money in restaurants because there's simply no way that they can stay there.
That's correct. That's also why I'm here working at IT Corner, because they have a bit of water. But we're MacGyvering. We're putting up water tanks. We've got lots of, in my house, I've put up Jojo tanks for rainwater collection, several other bins around the house. I think I've got like 5 other bins around the house. We're very water-wise. We try to save water, but it's just not enough. Now we've run out of every backup option.
What do you think of those municipalities that Rand Water is saying is using too much and as a result going to, cut off water in those areas? They very well could be your area.
I don't think that we are using too much. We've been like I said, everybody's learned to be very water-wise here, but it's a bit rich to say that people are using too much when we know that over 40% or 45% of water, allocated water from Rand Water, gets lost in leaks and all kinds of other waters that are unaccounted for, unbilled water. That is not the residents' fault mostly. So to say that the only solution is for us to save yet more water is not going to cut it.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. All right, there you have it. One view from one resident here in Melville. I'm now going to bring in a gentleman who is a part-time resident or a new resident of Melville. Speak to us about how these water woes are affecting you.
Well, I'm from Cape Town. I've been here for about 2 months now. I'm trying to set up a company this side, but I'm a bit hesitant because of this water situation. So my family stays down this road. I grew up here. I went to high school in Greenside, so I know Melville quite well. This issue has been going on for years, like the previous resident said, so it's concerning.
It is also concerning what you're saying in terms of, you're trying to put up a business here, but you're considering rather not, as Gauteng is the economic heart, of this country. That is worrying to hear. What would you like to see change?
Let's get some water, and then I think we need a bit more infrastructure for small business development. I've got a staff complement of about 11. So being in a space where I'm worried about whether I want to set up an office in the economic hub of South Africa is a bit worrying. But I think Cape Town, I'm going to stay there for now. We'll see how it goes in Joburg.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. Of course, Alicia, there another resident, quite concerning, of course, that when we look at all of these water issues, they do affect so many residents, but also livelihoods too. I'm now going to bring in the ward councillor here in this area, Kyle Jacobs. Kyle, a very good afternoon to you. So just having listened to what some of the residents are saying, I'm sure you've heard these stories before. What are some of the things that you are doing to help them?
So the situation is really untenable at the moment. We have been trying to engage the media on this issue to raise this issue. We've also been trying to engage with Johannesburg Water Management, asking for feedback, asking for updates, asking for other interventions. However, the feedback has been very problematic and slow from Johannesburg Water and very disappointing. I've also written to the MD of Johannesburg Water. I've written to the city manager. I've not received a response to my latest email correspondence to them on this issue. I mean, it's really untenable. It's a crisis at this point. Some residents are going up to 16 days without water, and that is unacceptable. That's a human rights infringement right there.
Earlier on, I mentioned the reservoir that feeds water, or parts of it, into this particular area, but it's also beleaguered by so many problems, and at the heart of those problems is leakages. Just give us a sense in terms of what that reservoir, which areas it feeds into, and what are the systemic challenges there?
So those reservoirs, Hurstville 1 and 2, feed large amounts of areas. The list is so long. I mean, you're talking Greenside, Emmarentia, Coronationville, Westbury, Melville, and the list goes on and on. Richmond, Parktown, West. I mean, it's a long list of areas. Those reservoirs do have cracks in them. Both are now on bypass because they're supposed to go under rehabilitation. However, we saw a presentation floating around where Joburg Water has now said essentially they delayed with the project completion of the rehabilitation of those reservoirs, which is very concerning, seeing how now that they're on bypass, it makes the system very vulnerable to disruptions, such as what we experience right now, because reservoirs assist in building pressure in the system and getting water up to those high-lying areas. So that is a serious challenge at the moment.
I see you wearing a T-shirt that says youth. You're obviously representing the youth. We know the situation in this country, and as far as youth unemployment is concerned, I'm speaking about the youth and unemployment because the previous resident mentioned that, you know, they're trying to set up a business in Johannesburg, but the water woes are a serious concern to them. What are some of the things that you are doing, particularly in as far as the youth is concerned, to try and make sure that some of these systemic challenges that we are seeing don't impact the youth particularly, but also don't turn residents away?
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing affecting young people in this country at the moment is youth unemployment. So we need to create jobs. We need to stimulate economic growth. But critical infrastructure such as water infrastructure is absolutely important to that. When water infrastructure doesn't work such as this, it chases people and investors away from setting up businesses and creating jobs here. So we need to make sure this critical infrastructure gets underway. We've been working very hard driving this issue both in a council level and in parliament, trying to get these upgrades done. There's been some work done, some starts here, but there's been significant delays, partly due to non-payment of contractors as well by the city, because the city is financially mismanaging its finances at the moment and is not paying and adequately funding these critical infrastructure projects.
All right, Carl, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. In fact, that is Carl Jacobs, and he is one of the ward councillors here in Melville. And of course, you have seen a familiar face that we have been, accompanied by during the trips that we've been making, just crisscrossing across parts in Johannesburg. And that, of course, is the executive of Water Can. And I'm going to bring her back in, Dr. Adam, to speak to us and close the show, the hour, in fact. Dr. Adam, of course, you've been hearing, just some of those testimonies from residents here, and particularly from the ward council. It seems like there's frustrations to get through to the officials, which is quite worrying in terms of that communication breakdown. What would it take, for the leadership, particularly those that are at the core and at the center? I'm speaking about Johannesburg Water, I'm speaking about Rand Water, and of course government, to listen to the people on the ground, because we covered in this entire show, but also on the channel, various areas in the country, Hammanskraal, all the way to Eastern Cape, the Northern Cape. The problems are all the same. People without water for 20 plus days.
Yeah. So I absolutely agree with you. I think WaterCan has mentioned that in a statement, that we need to improve the communication, and not just from the utilities like Joburg Water. With Joburg Water, let's just take it. It becomes too engineering, too technical. But they need to realize that there are people on the ground who are frustrated, who have not had water for weeks. Explain it, break it down. Rand Water, by the way, says they only communicate with their customers, which is the municipalities. They do not engage with people on the ground, and I think that there's a very big disconnect for people at Rand Water and higher to realize that actually these are people's lives we are talking about. We deserve some level of communication. So we've demanded a daily update from Joburg Water. We've asked the national government to actually ensure that Rand Water communicates better with us. We do get communication that says we're reducing flow or there's too high flow. We need more than that. We need an engagement. They need to understand what people are going through on the ground, and right now, they don't.
Very quickly, in 30 seconds, of course, the State of the Nation is happening next week. What would you like the President to prioritize?
So I think, firstly, in terms of the State of the Nation, a lot of what the President said last time was not achieved. What we want this time, declare a national state of infrastructure disaster, water and sanitation, and let there be a focus on it. Otherwise, you can come with your new projects and you can boast about that. It's going to go nowhere.
Very well, thank you so much for your time. Well, there you have it, and this is where we wrap up this part of the show and our segment here. We've crisscrossed several communities right here in Johannesburg, and as some residents are saying, Johannesburg is not approaching a water crisis. It is in a water crisis. Earlier on, the Water Minister also saying that South Africa is facing a national infrastructure maintenance crisis. Well, Alicia, it's over to you in the studio.
Thank you so much to my colleague there, Unathi Pakyashe. And of course, she was joining us from a final location, which is just right across the streets from where I am here at the SABC building. That is, of course, Melville, where we're hearing also frustrated councillors saying that they are not able to reach the relevant authorities in order to escalate some of the issues pertaining to the water woes. More news are coming up on top of the hour. Stay tuned.